Hello, this is Team 8 Consulting LLC's evaluation of a pricing model for occupancy sensor installations and services. Our team consists of Mason O'Day, Brian Stevenson, and Matt Weber. Butler is an organization that was founded in 2019 and is one of the leading organizations in sensing technology that focuses on wireless technology that still protects everyone's data. In order for companies to collect the data, they use these cameras to sense the movement and activity of the people in the building while also ensuring that their privacy is continued to be protected. These sensors are in many types of organizations such as senior care facilities, smart buildings, and retail buildings. Fast Company has actually recognized Butler as the most innovative company due to their use of AI and data analytics. Butler has raised $38 million of August and $68 million currently. Butler has a straightforward pricing model, but it still struggles to provide accurate cost estimates across different industries, which does have an effect on both profitability and client satisfaction. Butler's pricing model uses estimates for cost depending on the number of sensors installed while using a linear approach. Although it is used across several different organizations, it still lacks flexibility for sector-specific complexities. It is important for Butler to pay attention to both overquoting or overpricing in order to ensure that there is no financial loss or conflicts with the clientele within the organization. Butler has several competitors such as Density, VergeSense, PointGrab, Open Sensors, and Coworker. Labor requirements, complex installation needs, regional cost variations, and additional equipment are the most common overlooked cost variables that give competitors an advantage. It is essential for Butler as a company to ensure that there is accurate expense predictions. Accurate expense predictions allow us to avoid underestimating costs and ensures profitability by reflecting the true expenses involved in complex installations. Our adjusted project management approach focuses on device quantity, enables faster quotes, but requires added complexity to meet diverse client needs with precision. By refining our pricing model, we can respond to client inquiries faster and more accurately, strengthening Butler's position in a competitive market. Shifting from consumer markets to corporate real estate allowed Butler to capitalize on increased demand for safe occupancy monitoring, driving new growth opportunities in high-traffic sectors.
So the goal of this project is to develop a comprehensive and scalable pricing model for Butler to install their systems anywhere in the world. Sounds complicated, but really what it comes down to is when the salesperson is talking to a customer, they're going to ask, how much is it going to cost to install this system? And we want to be able to output an accurate price as quickly as possible, ideally in the same conversation that they're having with them. So we're able to analyze about a year's worth of data that Butler's provided and try to create a model so that when a customer says, how much is it going to take for you to install 110 sensors in the US of A, that's a standard project, the salesperson should be able to use this pricing model and say it's going to cost X amount of dollars, and it will actually cost that much dollars for Butler. To get started, we knew that we were going to need 3 different sets of data from the company to do a proper analysis for them and to provide value. They were interested in having a better way to estimate the cost to install a project for them. And that data set was a summation of 3 distinct categories. It's the expense data that the employees incurred to do a project. It's like booking airline travel and hotels, the actual labor cost Butler to do those installations, and any additional contractor expenses as well. The first data set that we got was purely the expense data. It was the credit card spend for them to go and do the projects. There are 58 projects in that data set. it didn't really tell us a whole lot because we didn't know how many devices got installed. The second data set that we got included the actual project information itself. There's 141 projects, how many devices were at each project, where they were, and from that we were able to get the estimated costs, what should have been spent for those projects, and then they eventually gave us what the contractor costs were as well. Once those two data sets were completed, we were able to crosswalk, merge the two data sets, and then start to do our analysis by doing multivariate regression analyses and to get a holistic view of how we needed to model the data. Our first initial pass at the analysis with the initial data set that we had was really only looking at travel expenses because that's all we had. So the first graph that we have on the left shows what the estimated amount should have been. It's a purely linear model, and the orange dots were what the actual spend was for those projects. You can see the two models are quite different. They're pretty close up to 100 devices, but beyond that point, the data starts to diverge quite a bit. What we found out was that most of the time, they really only need to send one person to do an install of 100 devices or less. Anything beyond that, they started contracting things out to add more people. And those travel expenses were categorized in contractor buckets, not travel expenses. So they were still incurred, but they were categorized differently. So our analyses showed that and mirrored that as well, that pretty accurate under 100 devices. Beyond that, costs were still there, but we didn't know it. There were lurking variables. That was the first step at our analysis, and it allowed us to get more information from Butler so we can continue helping them. Once we got more data and we were able to get that complete set of 34 data points, we were able to plot it pretty easily and show what the original pricing model Butler had established was versus what the actual spend was. In this chart, the x-axis shows how many devices were installed at a project. The y-axis is the actual cost, the total dollar amount, and each individual data point was a project itself and how much it was supposed to have costed versus how much it actually costed. The analysis showed a strong statistically significant relationship between the device count and estimated expenses, but it's pretty easy to tell that there is some other lurking variables hidden that would drive the costs up sometimes and not at other times. You see there's distinct peaks in the data that aren't described by device count alone. So with this alone, we were able to sit down with the company and start to identify what those other factors were. And when we sat down with the company, we identified what we thought were useful variables to help describe the changes in price beyond the initial pricing model. What we came up with was a list of the following variables. Again, total devices was the main driver. How sensors were mounted was another one. There's various ways that you can install a sensor. The two primary methods are there's a magnetic mount, you just stick it up, pretty easy. And the other one is if there's a very tall ceiling, we have to drop a rod and install the sensor on the rod. That takes more time. So we identified the projects that needed drop rods versus standard mounts for those sensors. We differentiated projects that required union labor versus ones that didn't. We looked at projects that were in different regions, including America, Asia, and Europe, specifically focusing on the Asian projects because they tended to cost more, it looked like, from the data. There was a few projects that were identified as having high costs because they intentionally sent extra labor there for training purposes. We generally ruled those data points out because they really weren't used in the model in the long run. And then there were projects that had local labor as well instead of needing people to travel. But through iteratively looking at linear regression models and multivariate analysis, we pretty quickly eliminated the need to include local labor training projects and surprisingly, any projects in the APAC region, which was a surprise for Butler, based on the significance value or the p-value of what those variables were. So we ended up with a fairly simple linear regression model that included how many devices got installed, how were the things mounted, and if it needed union labor or not. So when we applied that linear regression model to their project costs, you can see the differences. On the left-hand side was their original pricing model, V1, versus what the actual costs were. And on the right-hand side, you see that graph with the red line now representing the linear regression model from that multivariate analysis. And you can see that it better fits those different peaks in data when they fall outside of the original Butler model. We knew we were in the right direction, and this is where we really started to work with Butler to refine their own pricing model. So to take a moment to pause here, just to summarize things, the first data set that we were analyzing their travel data and basic expense data. Then we focused on cleaning the data, and we really narrowed it down from 141 total projects down to really only 34 projects where we knew we had complete and accurate data for. Then we started phase 2 of the project, which was expanding the analysis, defining more variables, and trying to create a multivariate linear regression model to more accurately mimic actual costs for the projects. We conducted multiple regression models. We refined the models by removing insignificant variables, focusing on the core cost drivers, and then we started developing a more robust and accurate scalable pricing structure. Next, we're going to go over how we implemented, or how Butler implemented these findings into their latest pricing model.
Thank you, Brian and Maysoon. We here at Team A Consulting LLC were able to utilize the solver function in Excel to develop the drop rod modifier, the custom mount modifier, and the union labor modifier. Now let's explore how these three modifiers improve the accuracy of our pricing model. We evaluated and compared three pricing models: Butler version 1, linear regression, and Butler version 2. Among these, the linear regression model performs the best in terms of accuracy, as it has the lowest average absolute error, indicating a closer and more consistent alignment with true values. Additionally, it has the smallest squared error value of all of them, demonstrating minimal sensitivity to large deviations. However, its relatively high average percent error suggests a potential bias, likely leading to overpricing on average. In contrast, B1 shows the least accuracy overall, with high absolute errors and absolute percent errors. It consistently underestimates costs, as evidenced by its significant negative average error, which could result in potential losses for the organization. That said, B1 does exist and exhibits the lowest average percent error at just 2%, indicating minimal overall bias despite its other shortcomings. B2, however, stands out as the most balanced pricing model that we analyzed. It achieves closer alignment with actual expenses, as shown by its reduced error values, and demonstrates low absolute percent errors combined with moderate average percent error. While its absolute errors are slightly higher than linear regressions, they are significantly better than B1's. With an average absolute percent error of 27%, B2 delivers better cost predictions than B1 and aligns more closely with actual costs. This makes it a more reliable and balanced pricing model overall. The key deliverable to Butler from this engagement is the Butler pricing model in Excel. Our refined pricing model delivers several key benefits to Butler. First, it ensures a reliable margin target, preventing financial losses and enhancing profitability. By minimizing unexpected cost discrepancies, it helps build and maintain trust with clients. Additionally, the model automates pricing calculations, providing near instant estimates that outpace competitors who often take up to a year to implement similar solutions. Through the identification of critical variables, this model enables scalable pricing that supports future services and market expansion. It aligns with Butler's current strategic goals while positioning the company to capitalize on growth opportunities. The success of this model is underpinned by the development of three key modifiers that enhance its accuracy and adaptability. The first is the drop rod modifier, which accounts for the fact that drop rod installations take 50% longer. The second is the custom mount modifier, which accounts for the fact that custom mount modifier installation doubles installation time. Finally, the union labor modifier addresses the increased costs associated with union labor requirements, which can increase labor costs by up to 50%. These modifiers ensure the model reflects real-world complexities, providing reliable and precise estimates. In conclusion, Team 8 Consulting LLC recommends Butler take the following 3 steps to optimize this new tool. First, scale efficiently by integrating the tool into RevOps. Secondly, leverage their HubSpot CRM software for a 360-degree view of customer data via integration with the RevOps. And third, establish a quality assurance program to validate the Butler pricing model over fiscal year 2025 to ensure accuracy moving forward. By integrating this tool into their workflow and performing quality assurance, Butler will be able to optimize the utility of this pricing model. In conclusion, Team 8 Consulting LLC has provided Butler with an enhanced pricing model that incorporates a data-driven approach for real-world cost accuracy. The model is automated and scalable, while it streamlines quoting for diverse installation environments across the world. This project reinforces the value of data analysis and strategic decision-making and scalability. And most importantly, it positions Butler for sustainable growth with transparent and predictable pricing. And now the Team 8 Consulting LLC team is very proud to present to the Butler leadership team this case study based on a real-world example in which Butler was able to leverage the new V2B2 pricing model. So one of the large competitors of Butler, Density, spent over a year attempting to secure a bid with a large university in New York State, but they have continued to fail because they have been unable to deliver an effective proposal to the university over that year's time span. Butler's sales team quickly engaged with the university and provided a same-day bid using the refined model. The university selected Butler for a pilot project with installation beginning the week of 11/17/2024. This project, both in the pilot phase and in terms of a total opportunity for the organization, is expected to bring in significant revenue for Butler. When the university chooses to start scaling from the pilot project, this pricing model will enable the Butler sales team to quickly turn around bids to the university and initiate installation work very quickly, increasing customer satisfaction and increasing the size of the opportunity for revenue growth on behalf of Butler. We want to thank you for joining us for our presentation today. These are our references in which our work was based off of. And now I would like to open the floor to any questions. Thank you for your time.